Okay, admittedly, I was not expecting the woof part. Throwing the money out there and him just jumping out and woofing at it. That was good. I love the positional move where he's like leaning over to get to the coin but still having the camera stuck on his face. That was perfect. They pulled that off really well. But I have to apologize to all the fans and watchers of the Eminence and Shadows, despite my episode 2 impressions claiming that this show is so Overlord, which is a good thing. Apparently I cursed the show, so all the girls left. Like, the whole feel of Overlord just left. Just gone. Now, granted, I just assume within a couple episodes, suddenly they'll pop up out of nowhere. Organization's already built up, and they're ready to go, and all they need is him to come in as a leader, but that was still a little bit of a letdown at the very beginning, having all the girls just leave. I assumed that he was going to go with them, kind of thing, but instead it is kind of playing into the mindset of Sid, which I do think is really cool. Again, my perspective that I'm getting, it seems very obvious, is that he has created this delusion, it became true, and now all these girls that fed into his delusion are now pretty much doing their own thing. They're out there fighting the cult that he at first didn't even think existed. And it's playing into his mindset and the idea that he feels like they're lying to him. They left. They've grown up, and they're doing what they did in his previous life. At some point, people got tired of being superheroes, and they just kind of walked away from it. But they're being nice to him by saying that, oh yeah, we're just going to go fight the cult. It's global. Bye. No, they're lying to me. They're actually just kind of bored of this thing, and they're leaving. So I thought that was kind of cool that it's still technically playing into his mindset of being a tuning in his previous life, and everybody kind of walking away from that mindset and him remaining. It was interesting to see one more clip of his previous life. Apparently, when he got hit by the truck, he was actually banging his head against a rock, wanting magic. Like, he was at that point at the edge of his rope. He was tired of it. He wanted that. He still wanted that magic in his previous life, and he was just so drawn on it that he's beating his head against a rock until he finally runs out and bam. But no, we had a time jump in this episode, jumping to his 15th birthday and the point in which he goes off to this Royal Academy that his sister went to. And yes, we start school life. Yay. It's one thing you didn't have to worry about in Overlord was school life. I don't know, it's not like it's focusing too much on school life, but I still kind of, at this point, I guess I'm tired of a lot of the fantasy setting, school life stuff. But yeah, technically it seemed to be a lot of setup for this interaction and connection to this princess, Alexia. At this point, I'm going to put my predictions out there. It's probably Nishino. That might be a very obvious assumption there, but I'm going to assume that it's probably Nishino. I think they put way too much emphasis in the first episode on this Nishino, and so my assumption is that she probably isekai too at some point, and now she's in this world. Now, granted, it probably was embedded in my head in the idea that the moment that he was talking about his plans to confess to Alexia, he imagined him groveling to Nishino, which makes sense because they're both the most popular girls in the school, one in his previous life and one in this world. But obviously, the reason here is that she's a princess. But no, it's great. Opening it up, having this whole punishment game that he has to confess to the most desired woman in the entire school, which, yes, of course, ends up being the princess of this kingdom. And he does so. And like we all assume was going to happen, she agreed to it. But of course, the reasoning that we eventually find out later on is that because she's trying to push against this arranged marriage to Zenon, this guy that's a sensei in the school. It was cool technically getting into why she doesn't want to be with Zenon. It's not an aspect of, I'm being forced to do this or anything like that. It's that what I'm gathering what she's saying here is that because he shows no sign of flaws, she doesn't like him. He has a facade that he gives everybody, just like she does. When she's out in public, she acts beautiful and refined, but whenever she's in private, obviously with Sid, she's complaining and getting angry, and she's not really reasonable with. And she indicates that that's a similar thing to him, that he is putting on a facade, and that she can't see these flaws that he should have, that everybody should have, and that if anybody does not have flaws, then they're an anomaly. They're probably broken in some way. There's no reason why they should not have flaws. And I think the reason why it's indicating that is because she's fine being around Sid because he's full of flaws. He's so average that she's comfortable, I guess, being with him. I think it's the idea that you know somebody's flaws and you're able to deal with them. If you don't know their flaws, then you they're basically a wild card. But no, I thought that was cool. I did get a kick out of the fact that the first meeting at the cafeteria, the entire episode is indicating that he's set up his life as being this background character. Perfect. I'm a background character. They let me in, but I'm still a background character. I live in the outskirts. I don't get to live in the dorms that all the high nobles get to live in. His sister apparently gets to live there because she's doing so well. But he goes out of his way to point out that I have these background friends, and I chose the perfect ones. And sure enough, when they're in the cafeteria, the guys start freaking out. He's like, I picked the perfect ones, didn't I? They're so good at portraying how insignificant they are. I chose the right ones, right? It's like it's breaking the fourth wall to the viewer and the idea of like, yeah, I got the right ones, right? I chose good. These guys are just absolutely just insects in this world. And I like the fact that I pointed this out in the first episode. They were kind of going out of their way to show like this over exaggeration of everything that he did in his previous life. So when he puts down his bag, it sounds like clanking metal bars. And the moment that he puts his shoes inside the shoe locker, it's like this big thump noise, like they're like super heavy. It was always kind of playing into his head, this kind of exaggeration. And they were kind of doing the same thing here at the cafeteria, and the idea that every time he went to go pick up some of her food, he would grab it, it would be like, ka-thonk. But it was an exaggeration, the idea that he was trying to emphasize this, taking stuff from her so that she'll dump him. And it obviously backfires on him. But now they go to the fencing class, which she brings him into section 1, which is like one of the highest class. I get an indication here that they train a particularly unique original style of Bushin, which I'm not sure if that'll come into play later on. But they're claiming because of Alexia's sister, this princess, because she's so well known for her style, it's kind of more accepted now. So her being so skilled and so popular has sort of helped them in having their style accepted. But now we had a little bit of a training session between Alexia and Sid. It seems like he overly emphasized the idea that she is so focused on the basics and perfecting the basics that she's very plain. But he kind of indicates later on that he likes that. Now, I don't know if he's trying to mess with her or if he's actually being truthful about that. Her knowing the basics rather than being crazy and eccentric with her style is something that he likes. I guess it would kind of play into his mindset and how he does things, but he's usually out of the norm with how he handles things, just like the whole crowbar thing and him finding some weird style to use it. But I guess it does kind of play into the idea that crowbars are kind of basic. It's not him going out and getting another type of weapon. He was using something basic like a crowbar. But yes, additionally in this scene, he does figure out that, yeah, she's trying to get me with her. I'm somebody that she can control in order to put off this wedding with this Zenon guy. But he knows this can't work, but again, of course, he decides, I know how to keep you in check here, and flicks these coins, and he just goes after it like a dog. Good little Wanchan, woof woof. I thought that scene was so good. It was so hilarious. And it was just so out of nowhere. I do get a kick out of it because I do like this style of Sid. To be honest, Sid in action is kind of boring. Dicing up bandits, fighting this one guy at this one facility. Shrug. Like he's so Kirito. I'm overpowered, boring, yawn, kill everything in front of me. He's not interesting. The part of Sid that I like so far is the Ainz side. The one that has this grand idea and then the characters kind of run with it, and he kind of reacts to them running with it. Again, throwing the dagger, and then her saying that some sort of encrypted message, and he's like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, that's exactly it. And yes, the goofy side of him where, heck, if this is here, I'm going to go for it. Like, I'm going to break my character because I need this. I need funding for the Eminence, so shoot, I'll look like a dog if I need to. He's a background character with his goals of being this hero of the night, and he doesn't really care how bad that makes him look, as long as he stays a background character. But yeah, this leads to one final scene with Alexia and Sid in this train, and yes, Alexia mentioned the idea that she finds his fencing style mysterious because there's nothing special about it, but she can't take her eyes off of it. I think she's getting a similar feel as to what his sister got with Sid. Again, Sid's sister learned everything she learned because she dueled Sid. Not that he ever learned anything from her, but that she learned a lot from him because she knew that he was essentially holding back and hiding what he was doing. He was getting at her. He was getting those kill shots towards her, but he was always drawing back, and she knew it. And I think Alexia is sort of feeling the same thing. Again, this all leads in this whole, I don't know if this is him manipulating her or if him actually being truthful, and the idea that he does like her style. And the only person that ever said that to her before was her own sister, and she was kind of upset about that. But he puts it in a weird way that he's like, downplaying himself compared to her sister and like, oh, I'm just an ordinary person. If some great catastrophe happened, I wouldn't care. But there are some things that he is concerned about, things that do upset him. And that's when somebody insults something that he likes. And her style is something that he likes. Again, I don't know if it's him messing with Alexia or if it's playing into, once again, the mindset of Sid himself. Is trying so desperately to get good at something, getting good at the basics, but never excelling. I think it could be possibly him putting Alexia into the same mindset that he was in his previous life, where he was trying to get better, but he's at a block. He can't get better. Despite the fact that he wants to be that hero in his previous life, he's not able to achieve it. And I think that might be what they're playing into here, which in that mindset frustrates him. That she looks down upon it and she can't see how special she is. But yeah, she says goodbye and leaves, and then we cut to the next day, him going to school, and his friends are trying to find out if he's done anything with Alexia, and then yes, Zenon's there, and all these other guys are there to confront Sid to say, the princess has been missing, she didn't return home last night, and you were the last person with her. So yeah, things are going bad. Now, my big question mark is, why the hell y'all at the school and not at his house? I was like the thing that immediately went to my head was like, wait, why are you guys here? Like, why would you not immediately go to where Sid's at? If the princess never came home, you would be at his door by midnight the night before. Why did it take you? Why did you wait for the perp to come to you at school? I know I'm overthinking things, but I mean, obviously the answer there is, well, actually the person at the train station was the last person to see her, but if that's the concern, I don't think you're going to be able to talk your way out of it, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure Alexia might just show up. My other theory is that this will be the point which we find out Zenon's other flaw, that he's been waiting at the side the whole time. Sid kind of points out that he's in a kind of wait and see approach, but it might be Zenon finally getting sick of waiting for her, and he goes out and kidnaps Alexia and forces her to accept him. But yeah, we might end up finding out that yes, Zenon has a flaw. The more likelihood is that, yes, the next episode opens up with them questioning him, and then all of his girls show up, and yes, it's all a plan of a big cult of the Diablos plan, and that they've come to free him, and they have all the proof as to who actually kidnapped Alexia. But anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 3 of The Eminence in Shadow. Still a fantastic series. Looking forward to more of it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.